Welcome everyone, my name is Sergey and I'm working as a front-end developer for the last 1 year, but previously I have been working as seafarer, and today I'm going to tell you how did I switch my careers and what 5 simple steps I have been following. This video will be a bit different from the others, it will be a talk video and I hope you will enjoy it. If you do that, I will record more. If you like the video, please leave a comments below and let's go. So first of all, let's talk about the goals and how to set the goals. In my case, it all started with the plan and the time frame. So I have made a very clear goal. I want to get a job as a front-end developer within 1 year, and it will be fully remote job. So that was the final goal. Your goal has to be specific, okay? You cannot just say vaguely, I want to be a software developer in 1 year, or I want to become a software developer, I want to get a job as a software developer. These goals are not clear enough. Of course, goals may change during the process, and this is completely fine. But if the final goal has changed, you need to make sure that you align all your semi-goals on the way and that you have aligned the steps and the processes, because they are quite different. Let's say you wanted to become a front-end developer, which is a great profession. But while you are learning, you have realized that the front end is not for me and I actually love back end way more, or anything else. And this is okay. But you need to make sure that you are following completely different path to become the front-end developer or become a full-stack developer, or maybe you find out that you want to be a DevOps. So this requires completely different path and completely different steps, except maybe for the last one. So once I had my goal set, I have created a plan that is easy to follow, and while there were some hiccups during the path, right now, I will tell you the 5 steps, major steps that I have come up with, and it will be easier for you to follow them. Step number 1, learn fundamentals. I have come from a quite technical and very dangerous industry, so I know for sure that there is no single way better to learn anything than learn fundamentals first. I knew that I don't have enough time for the college degree or some long certification, 2-3 year certifications. So I have chosen the self-education path. But if you have time, I would strongly recommend you to follow the degree or go for some professional certification course, because that will help you a lot. But in my case, I had only 1 year. I had a family to feed and I didn't want to stay unemployed for too long. So my plan was I will go completely self-taught and I will only use the available courses online and I will teach myself. Okay, so fundamentals are important. But how do I learn them? While there are loads of resources online, I would really recommend 2. First one is a CS50 course by Harvard University. It is an incredible course by an incredible David Mellon, and this course is just wow. It has some issues. The video duration of the course videos are quite long. I mean, some of them are literally 3 hours long, but trust me, the level they give you is quite good. And they give you a high level understanding of the computer science, and you are trying different technologies. You will try C, you will try Python, HTML, JavaScript, and you will try some of the libraries and frameworks. And this is really great introduction to computer science. They do have some other like sub courses after this video, after the main course, but I would be honest, since the teachers were not David Mellon, I skipped those. And another one, the CS50, as I said, it's quite dense. They are trying to cover a lot of topics in still a lot of time, but in a very short period compared to a degree. If you want to have something way more special, there is an open source society university, which is a GitHub project, which, as they said, they covers 4 degrees education in the university, but it is completely open source and it is completely free. Since it's covering all the curriculum, you need to be sure that you have that much time. I didn't have that. I found this course when I started working already full-time, and I really didn't have that much time to learn, go through all of it. And like, come on, it's covering 4 years. So if you have that and you really want to go self-taught because whatever reason, go for it. If you do not, I think CS50 is more than enough for what you need, especially in the beginning, and you can try yourself. You will use different technologies, you will be able to understand what you like more, what you don't like, and do you like it at all. Step number 2. Since we are talking about front-end engineering today, we'll talk about the two most important parts of the front-end engineering, which is HTML and CSS. Before that, I want to make a quick note. The step number 2, 3, and 4 are not the levels in the games. Those are steps and not stages. You don't need to complete step number 2 to be able to proceed to step number 3, to be able to proceed to step number 4. In reality, they will be all mixed together, and you will be building things and projects, and while you're building them, you will be learning those 3 steps. But for the sake of this video, we'll break them in 3 steps, and step number 2 is learn HTML and CSS. The cool part about CS50 is that you will do some HTML and CSS already, but it won't be really enough to get a full-time job, of course. We won't be covering full HTML and CSS topic in this video because first of all, this is not a course, and second of all, these technologies are so broad. And I really don't think that there is a single person alive that can say, I know all HTML and CSS, and if they do, they lie. So what did I learn about HTML and CSS? I have been using few of the resources, and actually it was a free code camp. I think I tried it twice. The first time I think I've done some, but I didn't really like that. I have returned back to the free code camp after about few months, and then for the first time, I really appreciated it. It is open source, completely free. You are welcome to learn, you are welcome to write your topics, and you are welcome to contribute. The most important for me was to learn and understand how the HTML document is structured, how DOM works. What are the tags? What are the attributes? What are the most used things in the HTML? I was not going into some very specific small details which you don't really use usually, but you may use them in future. And I really understand it, that the fundamentals of the HTML will be quite enough, and then later on I will be just able to learn more while I am at work. And there are way too many things to learn in HTML, okay? I think there are like thousands of attributes, and not a single person knows all of them, so don't make yourself a goal to learn all the HTML or all the attributes. You really need to know how to write the just normal document object, how to make your forms, how to use inputs, maybe how to use buttons, selectors, and stuff like that. So it's like a very fundamental thing which most sites uses, and you really need that. Second thing, the CSS. CSS is also a huge topic. Okay, we are talking just about plain CSS. We are not even touching the SCSS, SAS, less, and all the other stuff, some Bootstrap, Tailwind, and it goes on and on. Okay, we are talking only about the CSS. CSS itself isn't that hard, but again, you cannot learn it all, okay? You need to learn the basics, you need to learn the fundamentals, and you need to learn the most popular things. I'm sure even the editors of the CSStricks.com, they don't really know all CSS. So what do you need to know about CSS? Well, learn how to style your HTML. That's the whole point of the CSS. You need to know how to apply colors. You need to know how to position your HTML DOMs on the screen. You need to understand the box model and make yourself imagine it in your head how the box modeling works and what is the mental model behind box, because everything in CSS is literally just box. It's not a square, the box. And if you have two HTML elements and you want somehow them to be connected, not stick together, but connected and interact with each other, you need to put those two boxes in a bigger box which will wrap them. And that's about the CSS. Learn the CSS positioning. There are a few different ways, but right now the most popular, and it's called modern because it is responsive by default, is Flagbox and Grid. These two technologies are used almost everywhere. Okay, you really need them, and there are websites and there are resources that will help you to understand them. There are some games, and There are so many stuff just to understand the flexbox and grid. And trust me, you better do that as soon as you can, and you will be thankful. Trust me, this is a great way of doing things, and this is the modern way of doing things. So which resources have I used? I have been using FreeCodeCamp, I have been using W3 Schools, and of course, I have been using MDN documentation. This is the documentation which covers most of the web technologies. It is done by Mozilla Developer Network, and yes, that Mozilla. So trust me, it's a great resource. You will be using that for the rest of your life if you're doing if you're doing any web development. So these resources are really go-to. Also, with regards to the CSS tricks are an amazing resource, okay? You will find so much different stuff over there. You will find whatever animations you want. You will find scroll bars. You will find loading bars, progress bars, anything you want will be there. And trust me, the CSS tricks, if you are like CSS, you will be there quite often. So now, let's get to the fun part. And this is my favorite part, is JavaScript. Okay, yeah. There is a reason on Twitter I am mentioned as JavaScript Messi. I really love this language. There are so many people that say language is bad, and I do agree with their points, but I will never say it's bad. It has its own quirks. It is quite weird in some places, but it's not bad. It's an amazing language. I really love it. So what the JavaScript is for? So basically, it is to make your website functional. Okay, it's made for interactivity, so user can interact with something. Yeah, like small hover elements, changing colors on hover, or maybe changing colors on click can be done with the CSS only. It can be done with the checkboxes. Like, you cannot imagine how many things can be actually done with the checkboxes, the usual checkbox HTML element input. And by saying functional, I don't mean that there are no websites in the internet that are functional and they have zero JavaScript. There are quite a lot of them, but we are talking about something different. The JavaScript is the third pillar of the internet. Three pillars of the internet: it's an HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And in the modern web, JavaScript gets a lot of attention. The JavaScript right now, if previously about 15-20 years back, the JavaScript was such a small pillar-ish thing, right now the JavaScript is a huge pillar. And everything else is, it is quite weird, but everything else against all the best practices is being put into the JavaScript. And with any other programming language, I would recommend and highly recommend to start learning from the fundamentals. And again, I won't stop mentioning that, but go to FreeCodeCamp. FreeCodeCamp has an, it sounds like they paid me. They haven't paid me, okay, any single cent, but the FreeCodeCamp is an amazing resource. It is free, and you have the certification for the JavaScript. Go through that, pass it, and you will enjoy it. A side note, my personal recommendation would be to stop using the inbuilt browser text formatting tools and do it on your own local machine. You will learn so much just from doing that. You will start using the actual developer's environment that you will be using in your day-to-day life and job as a developer. Download something like VS Code, Atom, Brackets. There are so much stuff over there, so much IDEs. Just Google it, you just type download IDE. That's it. There are a lot of them to whatever you're liking. You can spend hours setting them up. I mean, modifying and altering some colors, font size, font color, and so on. But start doing that. You will learn what the environment is, and you will have many issues which you will be Googling how to do that, and you will learn how to Google, because Googling is an extremely important part of our job. So FreeCodeCamp gives you a good start with JavaScript. But what is next? There are tons of resources for JavaScript. They're paid, they're free, it's up to your liking. They're text-based, video-based, maybe even audio-based, I really don't know. But the best way to learn JavaScript is by building the projects. And there is an extremely good course made by the West Boss, and this is his Twitter handler. It's called #JavaScript30. You will build 30 projects in 30 days. They use only vanilla JavaScript. Vanilla means original JavaScript without any libraries or frameworks and so on. And they're quite fun to build, but they won't be enough for your portfolio. They are just to learn. Also, another great resource is javascript.info. It is very good at explaining complicated topics. It goes through the really advanced topics too and explains them pretty well. And your forever go-to reference will be MDN. The Mozilla Developer Networks, they have very extensive documentation about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and also they have a beginner-friendly learning path for you to start from zero and go forward. And you will be building some of the cool projects inside. You will learn about SVG and you will make your own ball game. And I remember I've been doing that. I've been that time on a ship and coding this ball game when they have touched the edges of the screen and showing to my wife on the video. It was pretty cool. By far, you have maybe noticed that all the resources that I suggest you, they are all free. And I do that because this is what I have been using. It's not that I am against the paid resources. But why I'm doing that? Because if I was able to learn how to become a developer, being on the ship in the middle of the ocean with a very poor internet, and I could do that completely for free within 1 year, trust me, you can do that too. So if you want to go for the paid courses, that's completely your own choice. You can do that. You can learn from them too. It's just not for me. So how much should you learn? This is a very, very hard topic to say. In software development, you don't really have a point that, like, I have learned it all. It's a lifelong process. You will be learning every single day for decades. If you like this profession, you stick to this profession. You will be doing this either at work or in your free time or somewhere in between. You can learn it, or you may just not do it and just go to your 9 to 5, enjoy your life, and that's it. It's also a possibility. But I would say there is a minimum, not a requirement, but there is a minimum recommended things you need to know about, let's say, JavaScript before you can start actually building some more complicated projects. So what are those? I would say you need to understand variables. You need to understand the differences between value and the reference. You need to understand different types, and one of the most popular methods of those types. And by types, I mean something like string, arrays, objects. You need to know what are the functions and arrow functions and what is the hoisting. Also, it would be great to understand what is the scope and what is the call stack, because call stack may sometimes trick you. And of course, since we are talking only about the original vanilla JavaScript, you will need to understand the events and what different types of events it has on the HTML object. You will learn most of them by just following the tutorials. And even if you will miss some of them, but you will somehow see those in the future, or you will need those in the future, they are just a Google away from you. I hope you're not banned from Google. So since we have covered HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, my next part was to build the projects. Yeah, I have been building some of the projects before, but they were all small and tiny and they were not actually doing much, and I wanted something more complex. So that's why I moved to another part, the complex projects. The front end is quite a broad topic. Okay, it can be anything from a small website like a landing page with a minimum JavaScript, or it can be something like a full-blown application, like for example the YouTube where you are watching me right now. In an essence, something like YouTube is almost completely built with the JavaScript. It does use HTML as a template, or maybe it uses as a JS6 or some kind of version of JS6, but in the essence, the most interactivity and logic is written in the JavaScript. Anyway, any logic is written in JavaScript. So how to find a project to build? First of all, I love to build the projects that I am interested in, because if you are interested in something, you will put way more effort into that. But you may ask how to get the ideas for the projects if, like, I don't know, I really don't understand what to build. Well, as I said, it's just Google away from you. Just Google it. This is the simplest way to do that. And you will be doing it for decades if you like this profession and you are going to stick here. So this step itself is quite simple. Find an idea, copy something, and make it more complicated. This is the only thing you actually need to do. Search for idea, learn something new, what you need, try to line out your requirements, what you want to build, what things do you need, what What things do you need to learn to know that? Try to code it, fail, learn again, fail, search for the answer, search on Google, ask people on Twitter, and like that you will start building your project. You will start understanding the process of building of the application, and this is what is the point. This is a never-ending process. There is no such thing as an ideal, perfect, completed application. It just does not exist. Whatever may seem for you like a complete application, like a YouTube, oh, trust me, there is so many issues over there, and there is a list, like long list of features that still needs to be implemented. So don't fall into the trap of trying to perfect your one small tiny project or even more complicated project and make it like completely perfect, put more features into it. It's great if it is uses some cool technologies and you want to add more and more features because you want to impress the employer. This is a good option. But I would say try to build, if you build it, it has some decent amount of features, go next and try to build some other application with some a bit different logic used, or maybe different library, or maybe different technologies. So if we are talking about the projects, try to start with, you have done some simple, but now make sure you understand how to get the data from the backend to your front-end application, because this is what you will be doing most of the time at the job. There are tons of open APIs available for free with quite decent amount of free use. Is it the time frame, or maybe some API calls by the amount per day and so on, but there are a lot of them. Like for example, you can build a weather application which will be fetches the current data in the provided by the user input string of the name of the city. And I have been reviewing one of these projects just recently. You can find it in the corner. And the projects like that, they show that you understand how to operate things, how to fetch the data, how to use the data, how to present it and style it. At first, you don't really care about your code quality. Okay, you want to make things work. Once you do make them work and everything is fine, try to look for the examples online, try to read about the best practices, about the patterns, how to apply those patterns in your particular app. Try to do that, experiment a bit. And like that, for us, the most important right now is to learn new things. Trust me, I have been learning a lot of stuff while I was preparing for the job. I was learning how to use the 3GS. I was learning how to use the game engines in the browser. Yes, there are game engines in the browser, and you can actually create a 2D games with that, even a 3D games maybe. So the main idea is to learn and try and to experiment, because the more you will experiment, the more you actually will involve your hands, I would say like that, into the code on the keyboard, the more you will get the experience that you may get for the future job. And this is a bonus part. Okay. The video won't be complete if I would not mention some frameworks or library to learn. And you can try different frameworks, you can try different libraries which you like the most, which you don't like. You can read about them, you can research and so on. And once you find one, stick with that. If your main priority is to get the job, stick with that particular framework or library. The way I'm saying framework or library is because React is not a framework, what they say. While there are some doubts, I mean, I would say that it is now becoming a framework, but they still present it as a library. So that's why I'm calling it a library, and this is the one what I'm using. So there are two major ways how you can find what library to use and what library to stick with. So number one, check your local market. Go on the job board and see for the front-end developers jobs what are the most amount of vacancies for that particular framework. If in your area or your city or country, the Angular is the most important, try the Angular. If it is React, try React. If it is anything else like Svelte or something, give it a try, because this is what you will be presenting, those projects you will be presenting to your future employers. And number two, try different frameworks and libraries yourself. Build one small project with them. It shouldn't be something big. It should be something like to-do app and so on. So you understand how to manage state, how the components are being written, how the code is structured, the file structure, and so on. If you like that, define which one you like the most and stick with that. If your comfort is most important for you, then do it that way. It will not stop you from learning other libraries in the future if you will be interested, but make sure you stick with some of them, because there are some people saying like, you don't need a framework. Well, you don't need it in reality. You can go without the framework, but trust me, the hundreds, thousands of people in the world are using the frameworks, and there is a reason for that. Okay, the most high paid jobs, front-end developer jobs, are using those frameworks, so it means something. And again, don't think that if you have chosen Angular, you are done, you are complete, you cannot use the React or something else. No, of course you can use that. And if you see a lot of job posts, what they say is they want you to have an experience in either React, Angular, Svelte, any component library or framework, because they are kind of similar in some cases, and you would reuse them, and you would reuse the knowledge from one library to another library. For them, the most important to understand is your mental model, that you understand how those components work and how to architect your application. That is the most important part for the employer. And if you want me to make another video on how to make your project stand out, leave a comment below and I will do it. And step number 5, it is a job search. The job search basically was my full-time job. Okay, when I came back home from the 6-month trip on the ship, I told myself, okay, I'm having 1 month of break. I need some holiday, I need some vacation. But after that, every single day I will be starting from 8 or 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. Every single day except for the weekends, I was applying for the jobs and I was sending my applications, writing different cover letters and so on. And it got me a job in 2 weeks. So after 2 weeks, I have signed up the offer, I have passed all the interviews. My first job as a junior React developer, fully remote. It was a European company. The pay wasn't super great, but it was still quite good for my country where I lived at that time, though it was still double less than I was getting in a previous job. But I knew the risks, and I knew that I want to switch careers. I will have to sacrifice something, and the pay was something I was ready to sacrifice because I was really eager to get the job. And trust me, to get your first job, it will be really, really hard. It will be depressing. It will require a lot of effort. It will require a lot of power. It will drain you. When you will be getting those rejection emails every single day, few of them, you will be depressed. But myself, I have got a job. A lot of my friends who are completely self-taught, they have got a job. So it's not that bad. You just really need to push hard. And while I was searching for a job, when I was tired of that, I will do some projects, I will read some articles, maybe I will code a bit, maybe I'll write my own article, but you need to focus on that. That is your main priority right now. You want to get the job fast. You need to send your applications and so on, so on, so on, so on. Let me know in the comments if you want me to talk about more how to get your first job, if you want me to talk about how to fill your resume, how to create that, to write your cover letter. Let me know in the comments below and I will record the video for that. And these were 5 steps I followed. Of course, as I said previously, step number 2, 3, and 4, they are all mixed up and you will be doing them in a completely different way, in a completely different order, and that is normal. That is good. That means that you are learning something. If you are not following the steps, if you are building something and in the process you are learning something, it means that you are on the right track. And since I get a job, I'm still on my learning path every single day and every single hour. I am still learning something on the job, outside of the job. I'm learning it from my friends. I'm learning it from my followers on Twitter. I'm learning it literally from everywhere. So don't think that the moment you got a job, you stop learning. No, the software development career is all about learning every single day. And see, don't think it's that hard, okay? Yeah, it took me 1 year to learn it, but you need to understand that I have been working full-time on a ship. We had a watch scheduled job and I was like waking up at 4 a.m., working till 10 a.m., then going to sleep, then waking up 4 p.m., working till 8 p.m. and so on. But how you process it and how you set your goal and you are following the path, it is the most important. I had to take the pay cut. There were some issues. I had some hiccups. We all have them. But when I got the job, it was my opportunity and I want to take it. And now look at me. I am only 1 year experienced and I basically already doing more than I was doing on my previous job, in my previous career. So thanks a lot for watching. Like and subscribe, follow me on Twitter and other socials. If you like that video, please leave a comment below and I will know that I will be recording more videos like that. Thank you so much and see you later.